Hello, everyone. Welcome again. Welcome back. Thanks again for joining us, or thanks for joining us again. Welcome to another Eurocontrol Aviation Straight Talk Live. As you know, this is the series where we talk to the industry leaders to ask them how they're going, to find out what they think the future might hold and how it might be that we can build back better, and indeed what that better might look like. Today, we are talking to the Chief Executive of the largest airport in Europe, Mr. Kadri Samsunlu, who is the Chief Executive of the new Istanbul airport, which, as you know, opened only the year before last, 2019. And it is still amongst the most busy airports in our network, but it was significantly busier earlier. I'm looking forward to talking to Kadri in a few moments and to ask him how he's going and how he sees the future. But before we do that, as ever, I'd like to ask the Director General of EUROCONTROL, Mr. Eamonn Brennan, if he could bring us up to date with the market situation. Eamonn.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Aviation Straight Talk. And today we welcome Kadri Samsunlu, the CEO of Istanbul Airport. Istanbul, as you know, is one of the major airports in Europe, but it's also one of the newest. I personally visited it at the opening, and it has some of the best technology that I've seen in the world, and is positioning itself to be a major hub in Europe and indeed in the world. Andrew, I look forward to you having a very good interview with Kadri today. And just beforehand, I'll start with a quick roundup of where we are in the network. So as you can imagine, flights in Europe have not really moved on over the last number of weeks. We're still kind of stuck at minus 65% of network traffic. This is a difficult situation. But what I would say is, there is some light on the horizon. Over the last number of days, you can see the importance of Turkish Airlines there. But there again, we're looking at significant reductions as well. So really, we're still at the same situation we were 2 weeks ago when we spoke last. It's mainly cargo operations, some private business jets, scheduled operations crossing borders, intercontinental travel. It's all very slow at the moment. We are looking forward to a reasonably good July, and we're looking forward to intercontinental travel opening up across the North Atlantic again towards the end of June, and Asia again November. So what I would like to say is that the vaccines are becoming very important. Every state has now rolled out a vaccine program. If those of you that can see the fully vaccinated is really an important criteria for travel, because only then do you really get the freedom of travel. So we still have some way to go in the European Union. 11% of our population are fully vaccinated, 34% in the United States, 25% in the UK, and 12% in Turkey. So whilst many people have had the initial shot, the trick now is to make sure that we continue the rollout during the summer and make sure that we continue and complete this very well. May the 17th is an important day. The UK opens up, and last week they published their green list, mainly comprising of Portugal, and we hope in the months ahead that this will expand considerably. I'm looking forward reasonably to a positive outcome for Spain and for Greece, and particularly for Southern Europe in the months ahead. It's also important to recognise that last week the European Council made considerable progress in relation to the green certificate, as we call it. The word they use sometimes as passport, should I say. People don't want to use this, but we are making progress in this. From an airport's point of view, it's continued to be very difficult. Interesting when you look at this chart, Istanbul, the number one airport, Kadri as the CEO. But when you look really down through it, you can see the extent of the decline is very, very significant. Most major hubs have lost 80% of passenger traffic over the last year. Istanbul, 64%. And that's been buoyed by a strong domestic market as well, particularly with Turkish Airlines using it as their main base. It's also worthwhile looking at how it's affected Turkey, because remember, Turkey now faces a difficult challenge. It's a very important part of the European network. It anchors the East in the same way the UK anchors the West. But they're now facing the impact of a new lockdown. Traffic has fallen a lot in the last 2 weeks, and Kadri and his team in Istanbul are facing a really significant challenge to build back for the summer. It was the top performer in Europe and it's now ranked third. And as you can see, flights have dropped by 20% in the last 2 weeks. So things are getting tight in Turkey and I wish them the best of luck for a recovery. Also coming up before the summer, we have 2 more exciting events. Tony Douglas, the CEO of Etihad, joins us, and Luis Felipe de Oliveira, who is the global CEO of ACI, will join us also. So Andrew and Kadri, enjoy today. I look forward to a reasonably good debate. You know, don't hold back, and please tell us how we can build back better in Europe, how we can recover from COVID, and how Istanbul is going to be a key part of the recovery of Europe. Enjoy.
Kadri, welcome to Straight Talk. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So we saw Eamonn's figures. The situation could be better in Istanbul at the moment.
Well, it's very unfortunate that our airport is facing a pandemic a year after the commencement of full operation. Simply because in the first 1 year, we completed the ramp up of our operations and we had full plans to ensure our airport get better. But what we are facing is a global transportation crisis, which is damaging mobility, economy, trade, and social life. Unfortunately, today in Turkey, we are facing another lockdown, and this lockdown is costing us significant contraction on the domestic side of our business, as well as on the international side. But these days will pass. But the impact that we see today in our business is astonishing. I mean, seeing the airports having the business around their traffic levels almost 20 years ago is really saddening. And we need to get out of this crisis by working very closely with our governments and decision makers. We need to use our influence definitely to open the markets, to restart the connectivity and return to the normal in the near future. And we do a lot on our side as Istanbul to achieve that in Turkey. Up to now, our government has taken a lot of decisions which impacted the aviation significantly. Us, Turkish Airlines, the regulatory bodies like the CAA or the HMI, we provided our inputs and exchanged views with the decision makers and the governments how to set the COVID measures for air travel, and at the same time testing requirements to enter into Turkey as a hub. We have a lot of transit passengers, how to manage the PCR requirements of the passengers in the transit area, and even cancellation of certain flights from certain countries. That's a joint effort. I mean, it's what we see today is unprecedented. I mean, I don't know how to call myself lucky or unlucky, because I'm lucky because I'm managing this company under very dire circumstances. I'm very unlucky. It's because it happened right 1 year after we opened the airport. Therefore, from a managerial perspective, it has been a roller coaster ride. But I mean, today, my goal, I'm sure all the sector players' goal is to keep our countries open for air connectivity. That's a must to open the markets, to let the mobility work again. Again, as I said, the situation in Turkey is today very, very interesting, because as far as we are concerned, there's a government reinstated lockdown to control the spread of another wave of the infection. As far as you are concerned, for instance, if you want to come to Istanbul, you are free to go anywhere in the city, because there's no restrictions imposed
on me as a foreigner.
I mean, as a foreigner, that's right. It's good time to be in Istanbul, as we discussed before the interview. For Istanbul Airport, we are the biggest airport in the country, and we are also entitled to collect some additional aeronautical revenues on top of the usual revenue streams of airports in Turkey. Last year, we lost significant part of our lifeblood, which is the passenger side, but aircraft-related charges remained as a cushion in the last 12 months.
Right.
In addition to that, another advantage of Istanbul airport is we have a huge cargo area where we will handle up to 4.5 million tons of cargo per year, which is equivalent to almost 3.5 times of today's volumes. And the fast-growing cargo business of Turkish Airlines and new airlines commencing services to cargo airlines commencing services to Istanbul has been another risk mitigating factor when the passenger numbers dropped. Another interesting takeaway from our experience in the pandemic is on the non-aeronautical side. For the listeners who have been in Istanbul, we have a unique retail mix of duty-free food and beverage, hotel lounges, you name it. And although commercial revenues went down in absolute terms considerably, what we experienced is very funny. The per pax duty-free food and beverage and hotel revenues jumped considerably during this crisis.
Wow. Why do you think that is?
Well, first of all, the longer connection times require passengers to stay longer with us, and so they are spending more time in shopping. And most of the aircrafts, due to the COVID measures, stopped servicing food inside the planes. That's why they are. They are coming out of the aircrafts pretty hungry, I assume. And I may beg Turkish Airlines not to start this service again, but they already did, because obviously Turkish Airlines has a very good cuisine inside the aircraft. That's why people are leaving the aircrafts quite full and stay buying very limited food and beverage when they are at the airport, and also of course social distancing makes people seeking places to be away from the crowds. That's why the hotel is also doing pretty good in Istanbul. Of course, the business itself is only one aspect that we take care. The other aspect is the financial side. The first year has been very productive for Istanbul. We achieved bigger, more than guaranteed passenger numbers in our first year, and paid back to the government an additional concession fee of 22 million euro. I'm very proud of that. That's a clear indication that this airport will never be relying on the passenger guarantees going forward, as long as there is no more pandemic around. Of course, it's very saddening that we just came. We got caught with the pandemic just a year after the completion of 7.5 billion euro investment. So what we did, what we had to do, and we imposed strict financial control on our business in order to preserve cash. We cut the operating expenses. My team took all the measures to renegotiate the terms with the subcontractors. We rescheduled almost all capital expenditures except essential ones. We didn't do much. We still maintain very tight discipline, and our CFO is trying every action to save the dime, and we are still continue pursuing additional reductions like all other airports. Of course, another important element that is associated with the cost control is we adapted our capacity very quickly. We closed the check-in areas. It's a gigantic terminal. We still use almost half of the airport on the air side. We close unnecessary areas. We close gates, and thanks to being a smart airport, quick capacity reduction was possible with the digitalization and automation. Still, we have four scenarios as in our ramp-up model, depending on the evolution of the passenger numbers and the ATM. we can employ one of the scenarios, and that makes our company pretty agile, and our operation still remains very, very flexible. So what I mean is we can scale up and scale down our operations pretty quickly.
Right.
And on the financial side, working in an emerging economy, working in a developing economy, I mean, a large share of our cost is local currency, and the big share of our revenues are foreign currency. I'm not liking it, but the depreciation of Turkish lira is helping my company.
Indeed, gosh, that was a very, very extensive answer. I practically ran through all the things I wanted to talk to you about. But let me go back to right at the very start of your answer, where one of the remarkable things is that Turkey's in a lockdown, and yet Istanbul Airport continues to be the busiest airport in Europe. And they're not domestic passengers, I assume, because everyone's locked down. Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, I should tell you that Kadri got special permission from the government to get out of his house today to come to the airport to do the interview, and we're grateful for that. But when all the Turks are locked down, because that's a Turkey-wide lockdown, isn't it? It's not just Istanbul.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Where are your passengers coming from that are keeping your passenger numbers up so high?
Well,
relatively high, I should say.
I mean, we have been in full lockdown in the last 15 days, and that's damaging our domestic arm. I mean, significantly. Turkish people are free to travel internationally, but the issue is that there are a lot of travel restrictions imposed on us. I mean, meaning Turkish people. Mm-hmm. And for instance, I'm married with a Spanish person. We live together. We have 3 kids. They are free to travel Spain, but I'm not, because Turks are not permitted to travel unless there's a very essential reason, like the health or extremely business. And I don't have it any with Spain now. We still get a lot of transit business. And this transit business is generated by Turkish Airlines, which is flying still the highest number of destinations among other airlines compared to other airlines. That's why when you go to area behind the passport control, you see a lot of crowds, especially Fridays and the weekends, and also Turkey geographically in very advantageous positions in the middle of 3 continents, and we are still, and with the connectivity availed by Turkish Airlines, we still get a lot of business between these 3 continents. Turkish Airlines has been the main carrier, for instance, to Pakistan, main carrier to Central Asia. Still, Turkish Airlines is very busy with rebuilding the connectivity with Middle East, and we are also seeing a lot of new routes develop between Istanbul and the rest of Turkey and Russia and Ukraine.
And, so obviously Turkish Airlines is incredibly important to Istanbul Airport.
It is.
But do you have how do you describe your relationship with Turkish Airlines? Is it a good relationship, do you think?
Well, I need to be defining it in a.
Oh, I'm sure they're not watching. I'm sure you can say. I'm sure they're not watching. I'm sure you can say whatever you like.
Well, it's a love and hate relationship, I have to admit. We are their hub. They are our main customers. They are making 80% of our business. We take money from their pocket. They don't want to give it to us. That's why we are in continuous negotiation with them on every single issue. And when it comes to charges, there's an incredible negotiation. I'm calling it Groundhog Day, because every day you come back here, there's a request from Turkish Airlines to reduce the costs. Joke aside, we are good partners with Turkish Airlines. Turkey has the Turkish government built a very extensive aviation sector plan in the last 20 years. We increased Turkish government increased number of airports from 26 to 56. Turkish Airlines grew its fleet almost 3 times, and other carriers also added in the last 20 years, like Pegasus. That's also a new LCC in Turkey. Total number of passengers used to be around 30 million in early 2000, and is now over 200 million, including international domestic passengers in Turkey. These are clear signs that our government chose aviation as the strategic sector for going forward, and this investment, the airport, is the Everest of the strategy. We build up abundant airside and landside capacity for handling bigger volumes in Istanbul. It is not just for Turkish Airlines, but also new airlines to commence services to Turkey, and especially to Istanbul. And with this, in this infrastructure, currently we can handle up to 90 million passengers, but soon with the additional investments, we can go up to 200 million. Today we have 3 runways operational where we can land and take off in a parallel way. And our relation with Turkish Airlines is, of course, we try to accelerate the growth of Turkish Airlines, because the more business they bring, the more business we generate.
Is your strategy to focus on Turkish, or is it to try to bring as many airlines as possible into Istanbul Airport?
Well, of course, one of the pillars of our strategy is supporting Turkish Airlines in further growth, because and we know their strategy. They want to fly to a new destination. They want to increase frequencies for the existing destinations, and they want to add new smaller cities all around Turkey to increase the number of cities they are flying. And they also want to add more availability for connection through Istanbul. But having said that, we have to be honest with other airlines as well, because this airport is not built just for Turkish Airlines. We need to be also staying very close with other airlines. And hear them loud and clear what they need to increase their volumes and increase their frequencies to Istanbul, because every airline has their own specific needs. Every airline needs to be treated differently, and as airport operator, we try to accommodate them as much as we can. Of course, there's a limit that we can do alone. But for instance, at the airport, probably you have seen Turkish Airlines has a fast track access. They have a gigantic lounges. They have 2 lounges on the airside. In order to compensate, in order to avail similar service to other airlines, we also, as EGA, we also developed one of the biggest private lounges in airports. It's a 4,500 square meter lounge where all the business and the frequent flyers of other airlines can use while the passengers waiting for their flights. And also we introduced our own fast track service and loyalty program where other airports are also benefiting from the fast track as well as the buggy services. So
the aim there is to replicate the frequent flyer services, if you like, that Turkish's frequent flyers would get.
Well,
for non-Turkish frequent.
The issue is this: our role is we have to stimulate and sustain growth.
Right.
Of course, it's going to come mainly from Turkish Airlines.
Sure.
But we should, if we rely dependent on a single airline, why I'm sitting here? It's a risk. And it will make our airport very vulnerable to external shocks. What if there's a terrorist attack? Where if there's a pandemic? Where if there's an economic downturn in Turkey? These are the risks that we need to think through every single day. That's why it's important for us to understand the relationship with other airlines, and we need to come with solutions to their needs. And that's the only way. That's the only way to bring more business. And we see the results. Since the opening of this airport, we got 10 new airlines. Wow. Services to Istanbul.
Turning to the airlines, as the airlines come out of the pandemic and the crisis, we've already seen they're using smaller aeroplanes. Do you think the airlines are going to merge? Do you think there'll be as many airlines in the future? How do you see what the industry will look like in 5 or in 10 years?
Well, it's a tough question because the pandemic is still evolving, and there are airlines supported by the government. There are airlines which are privately held and trying to keep their financials healthy with their own resources. But so far, what we experienced, that very limited number of airlines got bust. This is very positive for the sector, which means that every single aviation operator is running an agile business. This is very good. As we did. They look at their financials, they manage their cash flow, they manage their liquidity, they cut the cost, they took the measures. Employees were very supportive, the unions were very supportive. These are very positive. So it makes me pretty optimistic about the future of the sector once we are out of the woods. Having said that, are we going to see some merger between airlines? Well, I would say the legacy carriers are in relatively difficult situation compared to LCCs, because legacy carriers have significantly high cost base.
Yeah,
legacy carriers are really managing their. They are really cutting every fat in their operations. I think, but still, the world is getting richer, and when people start accumulating some cash in their bank account, what they want to do first? They want to travel. They want to see new places. So therefore, leisure will be back, and is already back, and that's why we see the growth, and business will come as well, and business travel. Now people are saying that there is room. I don't need to travel. No, it's not going to happen. Maybe the airlines will lose 10-20% of their volumes, but that's it. Yeah. You cannot. In a global world, when everybody interacts with each other, you can't do it through Zooms. You cannot run your operation in Chile by sitting in my city in Istanbul. That's not possible. No. You need to go and touch the ground. You need to see the customers. You need to feel how the employees are thinking about the business, about the future. That's why the model is going to remain the same, more or less the same. Maybe the weak airlines will be choked by stronger airlines, but overall, I think I'm not expecting a huge change in the picture.
But you said a few minutes ago that the legacy carriers are in a more difficult position than some of the newer low-cost carriers. Does that then move across into the airport sector in terms of people preferring point-to-point journeys to hubs and travelling through a hub? Because the low-cost carriers famously do point-to-point. The legacy carriers do hubbing. Do you think that hubbing will continue to be a really fundamental part of the aviation model?
Yes, I do. And I emphasize the benefit of the hub model is still there, Andrew. It's efficient for airline, Turkish Airlines, and there are still attractive prices for passengers. Look, we are growing today on leisure business. What the leisure traveler wants, cheap price, and you can only do that. And Turkish Airlines offers extremely attractive rates via Istanbul, and that's still there. And P2P, and today the demand is low, right? and filling an aircraft from one source is a huge challenge, and especially intercontinental or long haul flights will be back. And then what you need for that, you still need to feed from small destinations into a hub, and then from there you distribute to business. That's why I think the hub model is still very valid, because from a pricing perspective, still the hub carriers are going to be offering relatively attractive rates, although there's a connection in Istanbul.
Right.
The hub carriers are continue traveling to smaller cities because they can give them connection to big cities or the long haul destinations. And the third, price sensitive leisure travel is still there. That's where we need to base our growth. And this leisure travel is still going to compare which prices is more attractive. And I think the hub model and the hub carriers will remain competitive against LCCs because of this hub system. And therefore, I mean, you may say that the new aircrafts are coming. That's going to make that's going to make LCCs more competitive. That's true, but that's also going to make certain, like the airlines like Turkish Airlines be more competitive, because they don't need to buy a gigantic wide-body aircraft, but they can still buy very, very economically efficient narrow-body aircrafts and now fly to like over 200, 250 destinations as they are flying now. That's why I think going forward, yes, there will be a more fierce competition from LCCs. That's inevitable. But for IGA specific, I can say that the location of Istanbul is very advantageous. I mean, from here we can reach 3 continents, 60 destinations in 3 hours time, and we will continue building in more value from our locational advantages. Right. And today we see that Turkish Airlines already started flying to 190 destinations out of 250. That's very positive.
So all those flights, all those destinations, all that connectivity is all very good. And obviously we're all in the industry and we think it's a good thing. But do you worry about the sustainability debate? What are we doing on the environmental side, do you think? Well, what's Istanbul Airport doing?
Well, of course, today, all of us kind of forget the capacity problems and the sustainability issues because we are trying to save the house. But I mean, for us, I mean, Istanbul Airport is a smart airport. So, and we design the terminal and the other facilities to decarbonize the environment. In the construction, we use the high quality building materials. For instance, the windows you see, I mean, in our terminal, they reflect the heat to reduce the greenhouse effect. We have predictive modeling of heating, ventilation, and cooling to optimize the performance and reduce the economies. And we have, for instance, in the car park, we have natural ventilation. There is no, I mean, system installed. And what we do as Istanbul Airport, we are trying to reduce waste to increase our profit. Very, very frankly, I mean, inside this airport, we have a full recycling unit for waste, and what we do is we almost recycle 1/3 of our waste and resell them. That's very positive. And then going forward, we want to increase the percentage of waste recycled and sold. And I mean, almost all water that is used at the airport is recycled, and then we are using it for the landscape. We deploy inside the terminal. I mean, I can show you when you are here. We have a passive daylight system, and we already full plan to put solar panels on our car park. And around the terminal, we are sitting around 45 million square meter land, and we already identified locations where we can put up to 100 megawatt solar panels inside the airport. Electrification is the reality of the sector. We have EV machines, EV vehicles already used on the airside, and hybrid vehicles are becoming more common as well. Besides these usual actions, the planning of the airport, I want to touch base. We planned the airside to reduce the taxi times, and in collaboration with our air navigation service provider, we are trying to minimize the amount of time the planes spend on the ground, and that's also helping the environment. And we already expanded the runway capacity, as I said, with the third runway. And the last thing that I would add is we already have high-speed rail connection infrastructure ready in the airport.
Right.
Whenever the government starts the high-speed rail connection between our airport and the rest and the other side of Istanbul, we will be able to put together an intermodal transportation, air and high-speed rail, in 5 to 7 years from today.
So what about preparing for the hydrogen or the hydrogenization, if that's even a word? We spoke to the CEO of Airbus recently, and he's very committed to hydrogen. That will need bigger tanks and different resources, I guess, inside the airport to fuel up the aeroplanes. Are you preparing for that?
Yes. I mean, put it this way. The old airport, Atatürk Airport, was located on a 11 million square meter plot. We built this airport on a 76 million square meter plot.
Wow.
It's fully reserved. We are only eager to see hydrogen being used more in the aviation. From an infrastructure perspective, we have a lot of flexibility to make it possible to use it at the airport in Istanbul.
Right. So moving on perhaps to some of the other issues, do you see the COVID crisis driving the uptake of more technology in airports, contactless and eye scanning and things like that?
Definitely. I mean, what we see, I mean, we all need to build digital ecosystems in airports, and that we know that. I mean, as being smart airport, we already put a lot of infrastructure to advance in this in the introduction of the technology in the airport. For instance, we are working on biometry, contactless security checks to reduce waiting time is going to happen. But the issue is that I'm not entitled to collect the biometric data. I need to get the consent of the Turkish government. Currently, we work very closely with Ministry of Interior to advance in the biometric solutions. Artificial intelligence, we need to plug it into our systems, because the airports gets bigger. Today we have no problem with the crowds, but it will be back more crowded, and then we should benefit from the artificial intelligence to make these places secure and efficient. Applications is important. Today, everybody is living with their mobile phones. We need to improve our application. They need to control the waiting times. They need to check the waiting times at the security points, how the terminal entrance gates are doing, air traffic information. We are currently working with our technology department of 200 people to manage entire journey on the app. That's what we want to do. And so make this airport more self-serving. That's what we want to do, and what I know that everybody is going to do it eventually in the coming 10 years. To speed up the traffic flow on the air side. We have the most updated applications already working. We are going to be one of the first airports start using follow the green. We already have ASMGCS fully covering the air side, and ACDM, which is very supported by EUROCONTROL as well, is currently in very advanced stage of discussions, negotiations with Turkish Airlines and as well as the HMI. The speed of the passenger flow inside the terminal is also key. And what we did is we have the queue management system at the gate, at the passport control, at the transfer area. So we can manage the flow of the passengers, so not to create pinch points inside the terminal. Automated ground service equipments are going to be a reality. We don't have it yet, but it's going to come. And lately, of course, also our teams are working on robots. I mean, we cannot put more people on the ground just to manage the passengers. So what we need is basically much economically viable solutions to assist the passengers, and that's also going to come. And of course, I'm very hopeful about the 5G.
Right.
Currently, in this terminal, 5G network is installed.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. We're very quickly running out of time, but it's a really neat. You've already mentioned Eurocontrol and the support they've been giving you with some of the things that you're trying to do. ACDC. I know that's wrong. That's a rock band, isn't it? ACDM. That's better, and other things like that. But what more do you think Eurocontrol can do to assist the industry as we come out of this crisis?
I mean, from the very first day of the opening of this airport, or even when it was under construction, we got significant support from Eurocontrol. And then Eamonn, the leader of Eurocontrol, gave personal support to me personally, and also were ready to take our concerns very seriously anytime we call him. I really appreciate that. And then we also see that Eurocontrol is also doing its best to support the local ANSPs, like providing some funding to them last year. Maybe they will consider doing it also this year. But we also need some more from Eurocontrol locally. I mean, to operate this airport better locally. They need to support local air navigation service providers to combine a performance-based approach. Look, we want the capacity on the air side fully utilized. And we want local air navigation service provider to be proactive and effective in taking these decisions. And that helps the environment, that helps the business model of our airport, and that helps the business model of the airlines. And to do that, we need to be, I mean, all the air navigation service providers needs to be performance-based and passenger-centric. And for that, Eurocontrol can be a mentor, I believe, for that.
I love the way you're talking in the plural there, as if maybe there'd be competition at some point in the future. We could talk about that.
One last thing to say, Andrew, if you let me. CESAR Operation Center project is very vital. We need to push it.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you agree with me that was a really extensive and expansive set of information that we got from Kadri. I'm really grateful for his time and for the information. I learned a huge amount about Istanbul. I can't wait to get back to Istanbul and indeed to Istanbul Airport. So just to remind you that our next before we take a summer break, the 26th of May, Mr. Tony Douglas, the CEO of Etihad Airways, and then the 3rd of June, Mr. Louis-Philippe de la Vera, who is the DG of ACI Global. So, of course, and Istanbul Airport is, of course, a member of ACI. That goes without saying. So it remains only for me to once again thank Kadri for his time and for his information and for his experience. I found that really interesting, and to wish you all a very good day. Thank you.